and get started. Everybody ready? Anybody need any more time? We're good. Everybody good? Thumbs up.
Since we're sharing screen, I would recommend that we turn off our videos if possible for well, at least I will, for bandwidth.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, how's everybody doing? Hello, hello, hello to the Village of Elwood. Good to see everybody here. Glad everybody can join us. I am Vice Mayor Omar Nickerson. With everybody else, you guys, we're here. This is the we're here, you guys, for the comprehensive plan amendments town hall. This, I believe, is the third workshop, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's the third workshop we've done with our great friends over at Placervia. We have Juan here. I believe Camilla's going to start off. I'm going to let Juan come on really quick and have him introduce Camilla. And first, going to tell you guys a little bit about what he does for the village and about Placervia as a whole, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much, Juan. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Nickerson and Council, Village Manager, and everybody else. Happy to be here. As you know, this is the third workshop that we're having on the comprehensive plan. I will defer to Camila to give you a presentation. I'll chime in a little bit later. But if you don't mind, keep your questions. I assume that there is a way of either chat here so that we can take a look at the questions. So through the chat or through the Q&A, or even email us. My email is juan@placervia.com if you don't know how to do questions via Zoom. Whichever way, we will take those questions at the end as a Q&A, and we can have some discussion. So Camila, so do we have the capability of doing Q&A at the end of the presentation?
Well, what we'll have is at the very end, after the everybody just write down your questions, anything you hear or whatever along the presentation, anybody watching or whatever. At the very end, we can have individuals who are attending or in attendance. They can come and raise their hand. We'll have Kyle from Full Moon. We'll have him bring them over, and they can ask their questions live, so we have it on tape and everything like that. Thank you very much.
Sounds perfect. Thank you very much. Camila, would you like to take the floor? And I'll switch my camera off for bandwidth purposes, but I'll remain here for to chime in on the later part of the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, Juan. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the third workshop for the Airport Title Comprehensive Plan Evaluation and Appraisal Amendments. We're going to start with an overall review of what the comprehensive plan is. I know that in previous workshops we went over this, but for everyone who hasn't been able to join us until now, the comprehensive plan is a document designed to guide the future actions of a community. It presents a vision for the future with long-range goals and objectives for all activities that affect the local government. Many people ask, why is this beneficial? How does the village benefit from the comprehensive plan? Well, with this document, the village gets a defensible legal basis for consistent decision-making, a clear sense of direction that makes it more competitive for funding applications, and provides a fact base to inform the location, timing, and type of future development. And it provides a game plan to address opportunities and constraints. Who uses the comprehensive plan? So the reason we're going over this is because many people, especially residents, might think that the comprehensive plan only pertains to the planning and zoning consultants or the council when they're making decisions. But in reality, everyone can use the plan. Residents, business owners, and developers, they use the plan to submit developments to the council. The planning and zoning consultants and the planning and zoning committee members use it to guide recommendations for the council, who in turn will guide policy decisions based on this plan as well. So everyone is involved with this process and with the plan itself to make decisions for the village. Another common question that comes up is the difference between the comprehensive plan and the zoning code. There's the main differences that distinguish it is that the comprehensive plan, even if they both affect change in the community, but the comprehensive plan establishes an overall vision for the village's growth, whereas the zoning code helps to implement this vision. The comprehensive plan contains broad goals, objectives, and policies, whereas the zoning code regulates the physical form of the built environment through its regulations. It is very difficult and more complicated to amend the comprehensive plan with a longer process and more agencies involved in its approval. But the zoning code is actually, it's a shorter process, and it can address concerns in a more effective or time efficient way. How is the comprehensive plan structured? So when you review the comprehensive plan, it contains elements, each of which have a goal and objectives and policies. The goal establishes the overall statement of purpose for each element, and then the objectives and policies have specific courses of action for every, to be able to achieve those goals. Yet together, each of the goals, objectives, and policies for each element, they reflect the vision for the village's future and how to meet the existing and future residents, visitors, and businesses' needs within the village. So this process is, as I said, complicated, but due to the fact that it's so important in managing, in defining the vision and the growth for the village, we started off with an evaluation of the statutory requirements required by state. And we sent a notification letter to the Department of Economic Opportunity. After a year of feedback and the online survey, and we had a couple of workshops, this one being the third, we have amendments, actual amendments from the elements to propose to you. So we are at this stage, and they need to be approved by the council before we send them to review to state, to the Department of Economic Opportunity after this. So the evaluation and appraisal process is required by state every 7 years. And it's a process that is resident driven and requires extensive public engagement throughout every step to receive input on the key planning issues that it will address. We held 2 public workshops in June and September of last year, and an ongoing online survey, as I said. And out of the workshops and the survey responses, the following issues and comments were identified. Most of the responses to a survey were for residents between 25 and 44 years of age. Most of them, except one person, lived in the village. One person said that they visited. There was overwhelming agreement about what people liked most about El Portal, centering around the character and community feel of the village, as well as its trees and its landscape. This was an overwhelming agreement with these responses. Given the choice of which topics require the most focus, infrastructure improvement, parks and open spaces, and health and quality of life rounded out the top 3. All respondents want to see an improved sidewalk network, more parks, and to increase the events that bring the community together, such as festivals and children's activities. Through the workshops and the online survey we had an overwhelming consensus with regards to the character in the village and its natural setting. The word oasis was used in numerous times. Safety also came up several times as an important aspect for many of you. And in many cases, we heard the need to improve mobility, but especially through an improved bicycle and pedestrian network. We were overwhelmed by the consensus that we saw. Again, everyone took a survey separately, not only in the workshops, and it seemed to agree on these items. This makes our job a lot easier because we get a very clear idea of what the residents see as the future of the village. When asked about one major improvement that people would like to see implemented in the short term or within the next 5 years, the answers revolved around the development of the former Little Farm Trailer Park, perhaps adding a town center as was established in the charrette, upgrades to the infrastructure, which many mentioned may be outdated, and the implementation of the sewer system and better stormwater drainage. In summary, the key issues that were identified with the through public engagement were pedestrian mobility throughout the village, incorporating sidewalks throughout, encourage the development of small businesses and development of the former trailer park, maintain a copious tree canopy and increase parks and green open spaces, maintain the small village character, increase resilience and response to climate change. Sorry about that. It should be. And safety and security of El Portal's residents, improve outdated infrastructure, septic to sewer, street lighting. Street lighting was also a big topic, and reconstruction of the internal thoroughfares. From this, this slide will show you a summary of all the elements that are included in the comprehensive plan. So some of these elements are required to be included in the plan by the Florida statutes, and then others we have incorporated to address local issues, which is also, which they encourage. The future land use, transportation, and housing elements are required by the Florida statutes, and they ensure equity and prosperity for residents and business owners in the village. Land use planning allows for a diversity of building types to improve affordability and affordable and safe housing. And the closest of different uses determine accessibility and mobility modes that are better to get around. As you see, these elements are closely related, and many of the goals and objectives from one affect the other, and they need to be working closely together in terms of achieving the same goals and vision. The recreation and open space, health and community design elements. So recreation and open space is a required element, whereas health and community design we're introducing to address the issues that have come up. For example, preserving the village character and ensuring the physical and mental health of the residents through design. They focus on the physical landscape of the village. Resilience, coastal management, and conservation elements. They're focused on the environmental aspect of the village. They seek to protect the natural resources of El Portal and to make the village a more sustainable community and to ensure that it can recover quickly from storms, flooding. Sea level rise was also a topic that came up often, and I know that El Portal is not a coastal community. However, the statutes do consider its edge line with the Little River Canal something important to consider, and some areas of east of the tracks are in a FEMA flood zone. It's important to consider these when planning for the future, so that if it's not done now, then there might not be enough time to be prepared for all these shocks that are present in current times. Lastly, infrastructure, capital improvements, and intergovernmental coordination elements. They're more tangible than the previous elements in that they contain the specific policies and action plans to implement the policies and goals for the other elements. So these distinctions are made in order to understand the structure of the comprehensive plan more easily, but they all work independently and refer to one another to be able to achieve the main goal for growth for El Portal. So with that, I'm going to transfer. I'm going to let Juan come in and lead you through the individual elements.
Okay, thank you, Camila. And as you've seen, what we've just given you is a broad overview of the elements, which are the main, let's call them chapters of a book. And now I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on the goals that are established based on these elements and the objectives, which get these goals, give these goals some way of moving forward, of being achieved. And finally, the ones that you're not seeing here will be the policies. And the policies are those that allow you their action steps, right? They're the action that get these goals and objectives implemented. So Camila gracefully allowed me to take the boring part of this presentation. I will go very quickly. I will not stop at every single one of them. I want to say, and I will repeat this at the end of the presentation, that the whole document, including all the amendments, underlined and with a stricken line for those things that we are taking out, are available online. And we encourage everybody to download them, to take a look at them. Obviously, call us or email us with questions, and also provide additional comment. Even though Camila was presenting the timeline and it looked like we were almost at the end, we are almost at the end, but we still have the opportunity to hear your thoughts, hear your comments, and make modifications. Again, it's very important. Sometimes we don't realize how important long-range planning is, but this establishes the way that things are going to be moving forward. And then again, at the end, we'll allow...
Can I add something to that?
Excuse me. Let me interrupt. I'm getting a lot of text from a lot of a few residents that can't log into the meeting. It says still waiting for host. So it's about 10 people trying to get in and still waiting for like over 15 minutes.
Okay, I'm not hosting, so.
Right, it's full moon, right?
Okay, so Luis Perella, right when you interrupted me, I interrupted the meeting to specifically say that I was texting Kyle because I had received some text messages and emails.
Oh, okay,
so I wanted to reiterate exactly that. So I didn't know if there was something that we can do to Kyle to see if there's anybody. I know that in the text message that you sent me, you said that there was nobody waiting, but I do have an email and I do have a text message from residents. So I'm trying to figure out the best solution in this manner. I have sent them, I'm resending them the Zoom that we're in, but again, for some reason, they're not able to get in. So I'm hoping that maybe Kyle, you can shed some light on how we can help them.
Thanks, Mayor.
Madam Mayor, if you'd like, we could hit pause for a second. We could recap with the previous slide once the attendees have been able to join us, so that they don't miss at least the broad ideas of what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, Kyle. So I know I was texting Kyle right now. So if there's a way that you can send me, at least email me, and actually email all of us who are on this call from the council, so that as we get calls or we get text message, we can immediately send them the login for this evening. I know that many of them have signed in and they're sending me pictures of their sign in, but for some reason they're not able to get in, which has not happened to us before. So, so Kyle, if you can just send the entire council the ability to log in this evening, and we will send it to them as we're each being contacted individually. That's what I was going to say, Juan. So if you want to do a brief recap of what you were saying, and as the council gets any more messages, we can try to.
I don't see any attendees joining yet. So you'd like us to stop, right?
Yeah, I'm right now forwarding to 2 specific residents that have both texted and emailed me. So those are the only 2 that I've gotten. And then Kyle, let's see. And sorry that my camera's not working, and sorry that my voice is a little, it's not doing so good tonight. Okay, I have Adam Old sent me a message. Let's see. Let's see. Has the council received the email? Hold on, I can forward the email. So I just received an email from Kyle. I'm going to forward to the entire council so that they can also share it. I don't know why they're unable to get in, but let's see. So if you all can just look at your emails real quick, I know that you've been sent the username and the password to this meeting. So you may want to send it to the residents that have contacted each of you. So see if they can get in. Maybe they have the wrong ID for some reason. I have no idea. All right, we have one attendee on. I know Crystal got on. Let's see. Adam Old's on. All right. Adam Old has posted for us on the update of the login on Nextdoor for us. So let's see. All right, who else did that? Louis, have you been able to, is Councilperson Perella on?
Yes, I'm here.
Have
Yeah,
you
no,
been
I
able to
haven't.
share that?
Not yet.
Okay. Did you get the email?
I'm sorry, you said Adam was able to put it next door or something like that?
Yeah, Adam put it on next door for us. I was able to send it to, I've sent it to 4 residents already.
Yeah, I sent it to 2, but I haven't been able to. So let's see.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. All right, people are getting in. So I see on the attendees, I see most of them that have contacted me are on. Councilperson Barella, those that have contacted, do you see them on? Because all the ones that have contacted me, I see them on now.
Yeah, not yet, but they're I already sent them the link that the manager sent me, so they're probably gonna go from there.
And then Juan, when we get restarted, if we can just do a brief recap, so those attendees that have just joined us because they weren't able to get in can get a brief recap of what Camila shared.
Certainly.
Okay. Thanks. If we want to give it a few more, or at least until, unless you all want to start now, we can give it to 7:05 and then we can get started again. Is that okay? Do you have?
Okay, I see Mrs. Martin there.
If everyone's okay, we can start at 7:05.
I've been communicating with some residents, and I have just one more person I don't see who's let in yet. So I'm hoping Mr. Gladwin is logging in now.
We do have that problem that it's not.
Okay, Juan, it's 7:05. Let's get started, and Juan will give us a recap of what Camila spoke about. I want to apologize on behalf of all of us. I want to apologize to the attendees who had the wrong log in information. But Juan will recap what Camila covered, and kind of when the meeting started about the town hall started about 6:37. I want to apologize that my video is not working, and apologize. I'm a little hoarse. I'm not sick. I've just been working a lot. So I apologize for my voice, but really I'm going to allow Juan and Camila to take over, please. Thank
you. Good. Camila, would you like to give us a very quick recap on where we're at? More than anything, I think it's important for the residents to understand what the comprehensive plan is and what it does. What we've heard is important to them, and what the general elements of the comprehensive plan are intended to do.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Juan. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this third workshop for the comprehensive plan amendments. Real quick, we went over what the comprehensive plan is, and essentially it's a document designed to guide the future actions of El Portal. It presents a vision for the future with long-range goals and objectives for all the activities that affect the local government. The benefits of the comprehensive plan for every community and for El Portal is to obtain a legal basis for consistent decision-making, a clear sense of direction, to become more competitive for funding applications. It provides a fact base to inform location, timing, and type for future developments, and it provides a game plan to address the opportunities and constraints that the village has. It's meant to be adaptable, flexible to the changes that the village experiences. We held a couple of workshops and an online survey. From that, we determined the main issues. There were that many of the people who responded to a survey and the previous workshops, they agreed on some of the main issues that El Portal is facing right now, or the challenges that they think that should be addressed with this plan in the long term, in the next 20 years. They include pedestrian mobility throughout the village, incorporating a sidewalk system, encouraging the development of small businesses, and especially the development of the former Little Farm Trailer Park, maintaining and increasing the tree canopy, if possible. It's always possible, but increase the parks and green open spaces, to maintain the small village character that El Portal has, to incorporate resilience and and the response to climate change, safety and security for the residents, to improve the outdated infrastructure, for example, to complete the septic to sewer, the plan, street lighting items, and a reconstruction of all the internal thoroughfares. So from these main issues that came up, each of the elements, the existing elements, were addressed by amending their objectives and policies, and 3 new elements were introduced to a comprehensive plan to also address these issues. The 3 new elements from these that you see on the screen, so there's future land use, transportation and housing, recreation and open space element, health element, community design element, and resilience element. Those 3 are new, and newly incorporated to the comprehensive plan. And then there's coastal management, conservation, infrastructure, capital improvements, and intergovernmental coordination elements. Juan will lead us through these specific elements and what their objectives are. But as he mentioned, all of this information is going to be posted on the extension of the Planning and Zoning website for you to review in detail and at your own time, each of the elements. So Juan, I'll let you take it on from here.
Thank you. Camila, before I go into the elements, would you mind pulling up the timeline? Just want to make sure that everybody is aware of where we are. You can go up to slide, I think, 6.
That one, yes, that one's the overall work plan, but there's okay. Yeah. We can do it.
So I wanted everybody to also be aware of where we are. We started this process way back when. I believe it was over a year ago. We have slowly been taking information from you. We also have the advantage, honestly, that since we've been your consultants for, I believe it's almost, if not 6 years, we've also been gathering information every time that there's an application or every time that we speak, like this afternoon I spoke to a resident. We get information from you, so we're not fresh, new, and just coming into the village. We have we know some of the issues, and even if we have not heard them directly with regards to this project, we know that they exist. So we have been making those amendments in order to incorporate some of the vision and some of the issues that we have encountered in this last few years. I wanted to pull this up to show you that it does look like we are at the end, but this is not the end. And this workshop also gives you an opportunity to give us your opinion. If you can't, and if the meeting goes way too long, our email is also always available. These documents have been up for a few weeks. We have had there is a website. There is a page within the village's website that talks about the comprehensive plan specifically, that has been up since April, and it also gives you an option to comment on specific things. So please, 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 this is not the end, but we are getting there. So slowly we're going to be closing things. We're going to be sending things to the department. We're going to be sending things to state. This is going to go to PZAB, where you're going to have another chance to give your opinion, and then 2 public hearings. So even though this is not the end, I hate to urge you, but I do want to urge you to comment, to call us, to email us, to post on the website those things that are important to you that you may not find. The document on the website is on a PDF format. You like a Word document, we'll be happy to provide it for you if you want to make comments that way. So we are very open. I think Camila mentioned that the document is flexible. The document is flexible until it is submitted. Once it is submitted, it won't be as flexible. It will take effort to make modifications. So now is the time. The one thing that is flexible is us. So we'll provide whatever you need in order to receive the comments from you. So moving forward, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on the different elements that we have. As Camila mentioned, some of them are required by state, and some of them we added based on your comments and based on the current, the current woes that we are facing, like health. So we are being informed by the time that we live in. We are also being informed by you, and we're also being informed, as you can see here on number 8, the vision that was established in 2013. I think it's also important to note we're not coming here and changing things nilly-willy. We're basing our modifications, our amendments to this document based on a vision that was established, or we began in 2013, and it has continued since, together with the modifications to the zoning, which also informs some of the amendments of this comprehensive plan. This first one is the land use element. You'll be relieved, I guess, or I want to make sure that everybody understands we're not changing the future land use map because the few modifications that were done, which were few, were done already during our update of the form-based code. So the map is not changing. What is changing, again, is addressing those things that the map did and the form-based code did. For instance, the encouragement for, as you can see on number 2, and it's also addressed in other places, mix of use along Northeast 2nd Avenue, and refined development plan to former Little Farm Trailer Park. So those 2 things we heard from you. They are addressed in the code. And again, they are further emphasized and supported by this comprehensive plan. There's obviously other objectives that are here that will be in the plan, and each of the objectives has policies that you will see in that document. If you are interested in a specific one at the end of the presentation, please ask, and we can pull up the actual document and show you the actual policies. But they are lengthy, they are boring, and I want to keep everybody for 5 hours here. So again, I encourage you to go online and check them out. So go to the next one, Cami. The transportation element, again, it's something that this CDMP, this comprehensive plan, did not address quite specifically. There's been a lot of changes to the transportation conditions in Miami-Dade County. We know that we are going to have, again, based on the future land use map, a main street on 2nd Avenue. So potentially we need to plan for some mobility options that are coming from outside of the village. There's also some language that encourages internal mobility within the village. When we talk about transportation, we're not just talking about buses and trains. We're also talking about walkability. We're also talking about improving sidewalks and allowing for people to cross 2nd Avenue and North Miami Avenue. We're also talking about the connection to the east side of the tracks. As that project develops, there will have to be better connectivity, safer and more accessible connectivity to that town center. Establishing a bike and ped master plan, which will highlight the deficiencies and also whatever improvements need to be done in the next 10 years in order to, again, improve your experience on the street and encourage walkability and active mobility. And by active mobility, I mean those mobility options that do not require an automobile. That, again, is interrelated with the health component and also the future land use map component, the future land use component, which addresses the needs for the village to have access to food and to other services within the village. Go to the next one. The third one in this series, the housing element. Again, as you all know, since the last update to the plan, there's been a lot of issues or a lot of changes to housing in general in Miami-Dade County. One of them, of course, is affordability. These are general goals and objectives that we are writing here in the comprehensive plan. If the administration, if you as residents want further changes that are implementable, we can do those with the form-based code. We can, your elected officials can also do those through other policies that improve affordability, that improve housing conditions. Most of the housing element does not, in fact, it does not affect in any way the single-family residential. If anything, it encourages things like and also related to the environmental elements of this comprehensive plan. It addresses things to become more resilient. It addresses things for your single-family homes that mitigate some of the issues of flooding, things that, again, they're not impositions, they are vision, they are objectives to move forward in a more resilient way so that your investment in your houses in this village remain sound and remain, and grow. Hit next. These, well, do 17, I think you skipped 17. These are some of those policies. As you can see here, we have some things that have been added, but that the village is already working on. The stormwater master plan, the septic to sewer, the zoning code, as you can see here on the second column, the second box, that has already been done. So we are addressing certain things that call it house cleaning, making sure that we are that we have all our documents talk about the same things and they support each other. The one thing that has not been done yet, but in the future we might want to take a crack at, is the bicycle pedestrian master plan. Again, I know that Second Avenue is dangerous. We've discussed this many times, but not just Second Avenue. How do people move along the residential streets? Are the sidewalks continuous? Are they not? Are they discontinuous? Do they meet ADA standards? There are things that needed to be ended in this code in order to bring it to the 21st century. Okay, next. This next series are three elements that are related to the environment more than anything. Again, all of the elements are interrelated. So when I say they stand alone, in this case, recreation and open space elements, something that we've been talking a lot about, not just with regards to the comprehensive plan, but also with some development that's coming to the village that is allowing us to, or is allowing government to be able to improve those open spaces. Access to the Little River Canal, that's something that we've heard numerous times. Also maintaining and improving existing facilities, and the ensuring the preservation and expansion of public and private open space, something that, again, we've been talking a lot about. Next. Health element. Nothing more important these days than the health element. So here, of course, we are looking, this is one of those that is not required by state, but we felt it was important. The village, as Camila skipped through it, so some of you did not hear the early part of the presentation, but the village has been described many times as an oasis, as a natural resource, as a retreat, as I think one of the words was quaint. Am I right, Camila? Unique, hidden gem. We talk about, there's a few things here like sidewalks and safe, trees, nature, etc. Go back to the slide, please. So the health element, very related so to the environment and how we move around and how we interact with one another in the public realm. Are the streets safe, and are they do the streets encourage walkability? Again, walkability is one of the major components in order to reduce chronic diseases like diabetes and others like that. So believe it or not, planning has a lot to do with your health, and what planning needs to do through the comprehensive plan is to try to ensure that your future is healthier, that we encourage the right type of activity, and that activity is safe, right? We don't want you guys walking on the street and being hit by a car. So that is, again, interrelated with transportation. It's interrelated with other elements in the plan. Just to highlight a couple of these, as you can see in number 2, encouraging physical activity. And also to remind you, this comprehensive plan does not require you to do things. So just because we are saying to promote urban design that encourages physical activity, that doesn't mean that the comprehensive plan makes you go running in the mornings, but it does give you the chance. And we need to create safe spaces so that there is an opportunity for everybody to do so. Implementing design and design strategies that improve mental health and emotional well-being. You'd be surprised. Sometimes they ask us, how does urban design and planning have to do? What does that have to do with mental health? Well, quite a bit actually. If you consider how people communicate and socialize, right? Now it's never been more clear to everybody. we are isolating from each other, right? Because we are going through this pandemic. And that has an effect, not just physical, but also mental. So having the ability to walk down the street and have eyes on the street from those neighbors, that you can wave hello, and you can have that visual relationship with your neighbors, very important. And sometimes we see applications in the village have either blank walls or the buildings are hidden away. That doesn't encourage that community, that sense of community, that sense of health and well-being that the village is known for. Okay, next. The community design element, that's again something that we've been discussing a lot. You see only 3 objectives here. They are they all have their own policies, which you can check out at the website. But briefly, promote high quality urban design and planning. I don't think anybody would be against that. This is again not creating a code or regulation. This is a goal and objective that improves on the existing and builds on the existing character of the village. Promote high quality creative design that preserves village traditional architectural character, making sure that that's not lost. It's part of your brand, it's part of your identity. It's the reason why a lot of people move here. So encouraging and protecting this is also a protection on your investment, and creating a complete network of multimodal streets. That again is an improvement. It's an improvement on your value, on the value of your homes, and also on the experience in the village, not just for residents but for visitors. Remember that a lot of the real estate that you have invested on has a lot to do with the way that your front yards look. So if your street looks good, if your front yard looks good, if your facade looks good, your values go up. Next. And again, some of the policies that we're looking at, the zoning code is something that's already in place. Open space, there's new conditions for open space in that code. Creating a street master plan, again, that's something that we've been talking for a while now. So is again, goals and objectives that provide for a better livable condition and a better infrastructure for your village. Next. The resilience element, again, these are about the environment. These are also about, resilience is not just about the environment, it's about the ability to weather any shocks and stresses that the village may find. So we're talking about not just sea level rise, not just protecting the water, the riverfront, but also about how to weather storms. Are we prepared from a planning standpoint on evacuation routes? Are we prepared in terms of trimming our trees so that those limbs don't fall on the street or break the power line and we're all without power for a while? So there's elements, there's pieces of the element that touch on many different things, not just the environment. Next. And then coastal management, as Camila said, we are fully aware that the village has no coast. But it is the language that is used at state level when we are talking about a waterfront community. And you have a southern boundary is a waterfront edge condition. So we have to address that. We also have to address it because through that river, you're getting flooding. And so we have to consider a long plan or a long-term plan for how we're going to address those conditions that will potentially worsen. So this is the reality of living close to a waterfront. Next. Conservation elements, again, something very important. I know it goes to the heart of many of you. We're talking about the air quality standards that are established by the federal government, also by state. Water supply facilities work plan, something that we're actually working on. In parallel to this is something that is required every 20 years. And I think we haven't done it. Well, I say we, but I say the village hasn't done it in over 30. So making sure that you have a water supply plan, work plan ready for the village to make sure that you all have clean water available to you, that is extremely important. So that's one of those things that is required by state and we're working on separately. But we are addressing it both in the comprehensive plan and in the work plan that is a separate document that needs to be submitted to to Tallahassee pretty soon. Intergovernmental, working with Miami-Dade County on the water supply facilities from them, minimizing water pollution into the river and also into our infrastructure, and protecting trees and the canopy that I know the village prides itself for. Okay, next. Some of the policies, the emergency power plan that we just discussed, land development regulations, again, that relates back to the land use that we were talking earlier, but also form-based code, water use efficiency, stormwater master plan that is already in the works, et cetera, including educational programs. The infrastructure element that we have, so now we're moving into a series that is more about, I would say, more implementation. All the elements are important on their own. They are interrelated. I will say it one more time. I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but it's important to know that the infrastructure element does relate with other things. For instance, if you change the land use on 2nd Avenue, that will have a different requirement for water, for mobility, for many infrastructure parts of many infrastructure policies here. We're talking about the reduction of solid waste. We're talking about the expansion of the sanitary sewer line. Again, the septic to sewer plan that's already in place. Hit next. And capital improvements, of course, and I know that the whole committee, there's a committee specifically tasked to this. We hope that the committee will also take a look at this section of the comprehensive plan and give us feedback on it. It talks about many things. Some of the projects that are already in place, the projects that were envisioned during the 2013 Sept, and some of the projects that we feel and we have heard from you that are important to you, as for instance the lighting for safety on the streets, improving on 2nd Avenue, things like that, that also require some intergovernmental work with Miami-Dade County, etc. And again, as I was saying, intergovernmental coordination. We are a city, or we are a village within other villages, other towns, and other cities, and without working with our neighbors, there would be, it would be impossible for us. And also leaning on the strong Miami-Dade County that provides some of the services for us. So continuing the intergovernmental coordination and working with them is important, again, just in times of an emergency, but also on the day-to-day. I know the manager probably spends most of her day on the phone with all these other agencies, and that's important, and it's also something that we need to plan for, that there's continuity of that. In next. All of these, you'll see that they have a whole bunch of policies inside. I warn you, the document is not fun, but it is worth it. It really does establish your long-range vision and planning. We have, go to the next one, we have still time to make modifications. Here's a little bit more detail on this next. So once this workshop is complete, we will hold probably, till the end of September, right? I think that the P&Z is the 22nd, is it? No? Am I mistaken?
Yeah, the P&Z meeting is planned for the 8th. Next week.
That's coming up. So, well, this is actually perfect. For those of you that are in attendance, I encourage you to tell your neighbors, your family, and your, the rest of the residents that are not here today. The documents, again, they're not fun, but I do hope they are online. So I do hope that some of you will download them and take a look and give us comments, as well as your elected officials. Please feel free to reach out to us directly. We have about a week, so we can listen to you between now and then. Once the committee meets and we present our findings in more detail, which will be a session very similar to what we're doing today. I don't think it's going to change much between now and then. We can incorporate other comments and other suggestions and other changes that you might have before we send it to, before we have the first council meeting. So we will be sending anything to Tallahassee until we have approval from one reading. And then we will send it to Tallahassee. Tallahassee then, the DEO, the Department of Economic Opportunity, will send us comments. So we'll take their comments, we'll take our comments, and we will address them all so that you have, and we are predicting, and again, we'll see if this happens the way that is presented here. The DEO, the Department of Economic Opportunity, has typically 6 months to respond to us. So we will have time to communicate with them, to make additional adjustments. And then we're hoping by February, we will have an updated comprehensive plan. Again, I can't stress this enough. This is not the end. This is our third workshop. We might not get all your questions and we might not be able to answer all your questions today, but you guys have our phone number and you guys have our email, but we will address some of those questions now and see if there's any comments that or suggestions that we can discuss today. I have gone really fast. This is really unfair on Camila's and my team's work, but I think that it's important not to bore you too much, but to engage you and really get, make this plan, really infuse this plan with your opinion. And I will leave it at that. Down below this slide, you will see the website. You can go to the village's website and there's a tab to the departments. The departments then takes you to planning, and in planning, you will see the comprehensive plan. So this is the direct link, but you can go direct to the village website and you will find the comprehensive plan there together with other good information. One final comment, we will also put this presentation up on the website. So if you have missed a part of the beginning, which I know that Camila went through very quickly as a recap, you can also take a look. And that will hopefully allow you to understand exactly what it is that we're doing and give you, encourage you to come back to us with comments. Madam Mayor, I'll defer to you to lead the Q&A unless you need to take it.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Camila. Let's go ahead immediately to the attendees and or to the council. And let's go by hand of order. If you raise your hand, if you have any questions. I see the first hand that has been raised is an attendees is Calixto. So again, if you have a question, this is the time to raise your hand, and so that either Juan or Camila can answer that question. So Kyle, if we can, of Calixto, you're on.
Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you perfectly, and we're about to see you.
Okay. I don't know if it's my computer that's a little slow. But you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, in the meantime, okay. Let me just see if I could start the video again and see if it'll turn on. But anyway, first of all, I want to thank everyone, Juan, Camila, for your work on this. And I just wanted to bring up an interesting point. And, you know, I apologize that I haven't been in prior meetings to discuss this. But, you know, I have always had this question regarding, and this would have to do with water management, is moving the flood dam from the location where it's at all the way up past I-95 west of El Portal, okay? And the possibility, and I think some of my fellow citizens of El Portal, as well as council members and mayor, the historians of El Portal said that one time where, you know, the river takes a turn, where we have that huge, large oak tree behind one of the properties on the river, there was once a natural spring that bubbled up there. The water was crystal clear there, and because that spring would bubble up fresh water. And when they built the dam, they plugged up that spring. Now, I don't know, you know, what could be done. That's why Juan and Camila, I bring that up to you. What it could be, you know, if water management can do that. And the possibility of opening up the spring again and having a natural flow, tidal basin flow in and out of the little river. I know we can't do it too far up because they straightened the river, and you know the river doesn't flow; it's a canal now, which destroys that whole concept of a river. And you know the water just flows directly. But I wanted to do that, and I think, you know, as a follow-up would be if we look what's happening in the Bay right now, from what I saw in the news, in the 40-page report of the death of Biscayne Bay is lack of fresh water flowing into Biscayne Bay and therefore bringing oxygen, especially on these extremely hot days that we have been having over this summer, and cause of all the death of all the marine life. So do you think that that could be a possibility with water management, Juan, Camila? Thank you.
I'll take that real quick. That's really outside of the village's jurisdiction, and it would be the South Florida Water Management District, which is a state agency. We are in conversations with them with regards to the water supply plan. We can ask that question. It would be a major project, infrastructure project. I'm not sure if they would be amenable to it, but if it's directed, we can at least engage them and ask that question. There is, I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail because this is not something that we are addressing in the plan, but we are talking about nature, and we're talking about protecting the edge of the canal or the river, rather. To improve the habitat for manatees, for instance, which I know that they come up, at least on the eastern side of El Portal, right on the annex area. So we are addressing it that way, but the moving of the dam, that's something that would affect many municipalities, and it's really not part of the ability that El Portal or any other municipality has. It's the South Florida Water Management District.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council, I don't see any attendees hand, but we have Councilperson Anders Arbum.
Good evening. I just wanted to Calixto's statements. Yeah, I think that in all likelihood there would be a huge environmental impact to propose something like that, and I would imagine the dam essentially exists already to mitigate environmental damage in terms of like saltwater intrusion further up the river. And then as far the oxygen, a lot of people don't know this, but oxygen being retained in the water has almost everything to do with temperature. So cold water, oxygen will absorb into the water when the water is cold. When the water becomes to a certain higher temperature, then oxygen begins to leave the water. So that doesn't matter if it's fresh water or salt water. The environmental impact of ocean temperatures rising around the world, even more than fueling storms, honestly, is eliminating oxygen from the entire surface of the ocean for life. So when entire schools of fish, for example, wander into warm water, they will suffocate and die because if there's not enough diffused oxygen within the water, and that is all explicitly related to temperature of the water. So anyway, just a little wonky background on that.
Again, I think it's sorry, Madam Mayor, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
just going to say, I know it's a little unfair to ask people to give us comments on a document that they have not read in detail. So if you don't have comments, but you have questions, be happy to answer those before you dive into the actual document.
You have a hand raised, and it's Hugh Gladwin.
Here we go. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Hugh. How are you? Yes, we can hear you perfectly. We just cannot see you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I will be reading the document very carefully, but I just want to commend the council and the village and plus Serbia for, this effort of planning, going through two charrettes the whole time, the last, really 25 years of the village government, I think, makes Sept for a small village sort of outstanding in terms of municipalities and in Dade County and in many places. I mean, we hear so much, we say so much about how beautiful the village is, and we know how difficult it is and what tremendous work it takes on the part of village staff and the council and everybody to maintain. But it's just good to give yourselves a pat on the back that in spite of all those difficulties and hard things, that this effort has been maintained, and it hasn't. Other places will, have a spurt of energy. They'll have something like our charrette, and then it'll get forgotten, and they sort of reinvent the wheel. This is something that's been going on in the village without a break, building on past efforts like the earlier charrettes and so on. And I just think it's terrific. So thank you so much.
Well, Hugh, you keep us on your toes.
Okay, well, I'm going to read the document.
On our toes.
I'll read the document, and I'm sure I'll be having some questions. Thank you. Take care.
Right. Thank you.
Always thank you to you, Hughes. Thank you for being on. Next, we have Miss Edna Edelman.
All right, the question that I have, can you hear me?
Hear perfectly. We can hear you well.
So I'm kind of new to this process, and I'm wondering what the process is actually of going from a plan to an actual implementation.
Certainly. And Camila, you might want to go into a little bit more detail, but I'm going to give you a very broad answer. And if you'd like a more detailed one, we can also do that. The comprehensive plan. So there's different documents that that the village goes by, right? There's the comprehensive plan, which establishes broad ideas and objectives and policies. And then there is our implementable documents, which are supported by the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan, you can imagine, it's sort of like your the big idea. And then the form-based code or the zoning is what, based on what the comprehensive plan says, then implements and regulates the way that we build and the way that we develop in the village. So Camila pulled up this slide. I mean, to me, it's clear, but maybe it's because I'm very familiar with it. Essentially, I'll give you an example. The comprehensive plan would say, encourage safety through building design methods. And that basically means provide windows on your homes so people have the opportunity to have natural supervision of the street, right? And that's what it means. And then the implementation would be through the code, which would say homes or buildings or structures will have a certain amount of transparency in facades, so that there is that ability again to survey, to an eye on the street. I can give you other examples. I'm not sure if this one was clear. But again, the main idea is that this is, I guess I would be wrong in saying that this is not implementable, but the important part of this document is to establish big idea, goals, objectives, and policies, and then use the other documents like the zoning code in order to actually implement those things. I'm talking about the zoning code. We could talk about the bicycle pedestrian master plan. We could talk about the stormwater plan. We could talk about the water supply plan, other plans that are more specific to tackle those objectives. Does that answer your question?
Partially.
Partially. How
yes.
can I clarify further?
No, I mean, we can, I can follow up with you.
Okay.
I mean, it's one thing to, I mean, it's a wonderful plan. I'm just curious how a small village actually goes about implementing it.
I'm not sure if this clarifies it, but I will say it. It is called a comprehensive development plan, right? You won't see a plan in it per se. A plan meaning it's something that you establish as goals and objectives, right? So it's something that it doesn't require, it's not a master plan, a drawn master plan.
This is a vision.
Right, it's language. So again, that's why I kept on saying that the documents are boring. I'm a very visual person, but they do establish certain things that are specific. The plans that you will find in the document have not changed per the ones that we already have. Remember, this is an update of a comprehensive plan that we already exists in the village, right? So the land use, for instance, is not changing. Most of the plans are not changing. We are updating them with new data. So when we're talking about number of homes, so there are more homes today than there were in, what was it, 1960s, 70s that the plan was put together. So things have changed since then, and we are updating those things, but we are not making changes to the plans, to the drawings.
So if we take something concrete, if the vision says that we increase the canopy of El Portal, how do we go about doing that? Do we encourage homeowners to plant more trees? Does the village plant more trees?
So those two things, so the goal or the objective would be to increase canopy, right? And that would go, it could go in the health, it could go in the open space, it could go into community, right? It could go in many of these, so you're right. That would be the objective or the vision or the policy. And then we would find the way through other regulatory documents to implement. We could, you don't really need a plan from us in order to increase your canopy, but we could, with this, this document would establish that policy. We could go to Tallahassee and say, could we have a grant? One of the policies in our comprehensive plan says increase canopy, and we could ask our governor to see if there is a possibility of increasing our canopy. We could also use the code, I guess, the zoning code, and require people to plant, if that's the way the village chooses to go with this. Or we could require, which we do, actually, the code already requires developers to plant and to improve the quality of the street in front of their development. So that's a good example of how we go about implementing that specific goal or objective.
And can I add to that too? I know you're just using the tree canopy as an example, Ms. Edelman, but like another way we are addressing that is through our tree board. We're Tree City USA, so we do encourage residents to plant trees. We can't regulate that, but we encourage it by doing Arbor Day events annually and giving away trees. We apply for grants annually through Need Trees, and we plant trees where we are able to, pay for them. So, and through the tree board and, through those avenues, we are able to address it in that way. But there are other things within the comp plan that we address through either a board or goals from the council.
And the capital improvement schedule too, Madam Manager. I know we've been in discussions with that and what the current projects are now, and that shifts every 5 years, and that includes a lot of those projects are tangible, and they're a direct implementation of some of the goals, but that of course is achieved separately, and there needs to be agreement on which projects. This is why this is long range planning, and they get implemented through time with what you and Juan mentioned, and also through that schedule.
Right, and I think this is a great example, the trees, because it's very much El Portal, right? The canopy and the nature. One of the things that I would highlight, I guess, is that this comprehensive plan would just say, probably in conservation, encourage, improve, maintain, and increase the canopy in El Portal. Through other means, we would say how, and we would say not just how to invest on it, but also how that would be done, what kind of trees, whether there is a planned succession of the current trees. Some of the trees are getting old and they die soon. So many municipalities have a succession plan where you plant new trees and you little by little renew the canopy and the mix of tree types that you have. The comprehensive plan will not get into that detail, but it is, we through other means where we implement. If we don't have it in the comprehensive plan, we don't have the directive to go and figure out a way to implement, and that's where we're at.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see any other hand raised. I don't know if Hugh Gladwin, is that your hand still raised, or did you raise your hand again? I think he raised his hand again. Can we let Hugh in?
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment in response to the excellent question, which is, I think one sort of really dramatic example is if we go to the issue of the former trailer park area. That area is absolutely crucial to the future of the village in terms of revenue and everything else. And there's been like over 20 years when the owners of the trailer park essentially had determined to get rid of the residents of it and basically let El Portal face the costs of taking care of them and everything. And during that time period, I mean, I'm oversimplifying a very long process, but the village 20 years ago was looking at a situation where, there was essentially very little protection for the village from the property being sold to somebody that essentially wanted to turn it into a huge parking lot under a design that would not generate almost any revenue for the village, and yet put a colossal load on the police department and everything else to protect it. So at the time, that's what led to the first of the two charrettes that we've had. And the objective was to initiate something that would result in the comprehensive plan, filling in. The comprehensive plan said basically something like that use doesn't fit any land use that benefits the long-term goals of El Portal. So that went into the comprehensive plan. And then, as Juan has been saying, the comprehensive plan is the overall picture, but it fills in below zoning, it fills in all these other requirements. So now any development of that may or may not be, in the best interest of the village, but it does have to follow the plan. So all the elements here that we see that benefit the village are something that somebody comes in You know, obviously they'll want to make money off the property and everything else, of course, but they still have to, I mean, they can do that, but do it fitting in with the plan. So to me, that's kind of the best example of how it works. Thank you.
And a little bit more specific, thank you for bringing that up, Hugh. A little bit more specific, what we found is that the comprehensive plan was trying to address how to deal with the trailer park. Because when the last edits were done to the comprehensive plan, it was before those residents were displaced. So since this has already happened, we are striking that language from the comprehensive plan because it's something that has already happened. And now we're looking at how to redevelop, right? So the first step back then was how to transition that trailer park into something else. And now we are in the process of looking at how it will be redeveloped. So we are striking some of the language that has already happened, and we are including some of the language that we're actually inheriting from the 2013 charrette.
We have Nikki from the Zamora family, hand raised.
Hey, good evening. I just had a quick question regarding the redevelopment of the former trailer park. Is there anything that as a city that we can enforce as far as I don't recall if there was any sort of contract or any language that was established with the city as far as any sort of deadlines for the development of that particular space? Meaning, is there anything that the city can do in order to prevent them from just stopping development altogether?
So again, with regards to the vision and the comprehensive plan, that's something that we don't address specifically in this exercise. What we are providing is guidance to what that redevelopment should include. Open space by the Little River is one of them, civic and institutional facilities, interconnected network, mixed use, some of those things that are also part of that were driven from the 2013 resident workshop, or charrette rather, and also supported by the form-based code. In terms of timing of development, that's something that it's not established in this plan, and really it's not enforceable through the zoning. So from a planning perspective, I cannot answer the question, but what I can tell you is that that property is mentioned numerous times because we do agree very much with Hugh. It will have a huge impact, a huge hope, and we hope positive impact for the village. Now, when that's going to happen, that's something that I wish I could plan for it.
Thank you so much. No, I do understand that obviously the plan, the comprehensive plan is to establish guidelines. I just didn't know if it was discussed at any point, and that maybe would be also with the village manager. And I briefly spoke with the mayor about it, if there had been any talks as far as any sort of timeline for what was going to be happening. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I just want to add a couple of things before I think a councilperson, I don't know if Anders has his hand raised. What we can enforce is liens and codes based on how they're maintaining the property. I will defer to the attorney if there's anything else we can enforce as far as mandating or having a timeline for the developer to develop. In the time that I've been here, the two areas that we've needed development or has been pending development has been the sanctuary and has been the trailer park. I can say that what we can do is enforce liens and codes so they can maintain the property to the standard of the likes of the village and of the vision of the village. But what we can do as a community and as a council and as a government body is provide policies and provide some type of not leniency, but a plan like this, or attraction to be able to encourage development to want to come to our village, because the development that's going to come to the village, you can encourage them in different ways, home values, public safety, what the community is doing as a whole, that we do, and constant communication. In the time that I've been here, I have been in constant communication with the gentleman the proprietors from the annexed area. And while I've been in communication with them since the year 2009, they're not going to start developing until next year, and that's been solidified. The sanctuary, the same thing. We've worked diligently with them in the hopes that something could come to fruition, but then that hasn't happened. Last year and a half, Full View Capital, who are the proprietors for the little farm, we met with them, I want to say 5 times last year. And perhaps COVID has slowed things down, but right now it's dormant. They're not doing absolutely anything when it comes to that. And I think there's many variables to that point. But in terms of being able to enforce or mandate, I will defer that to the attorney. I don't believe that there is something that we can really mandate, except of course enforce them with the code and so that they're in constant compliance as the way we would do to all of our residents. Person Urban has his hand raised.
Yes, I think what the question is just a 60-second synopsis of what the current, who are the I think she's just asking what is the state of the current, what is the status of the current discussion with the developers for the little farm.
The last time that we met with them, 1 month ago, we in September, we met with them exactly a year ago. And then we spoke to, I didn't speak to them, but via email, the last time that they responded to an email was right before COVID-19. And what they had, in that email, it said that they were going to be coming again and letting us know the process, and that they were hiring a master plan and they were hiring an architect. And the decision that they had made was to hire a local master plan and a local architect who was familiar with the surroundings and the economic development of Miami-Dade County, as opposed to hiring a master plan and an architect from Canada, which is where they're based. They're a Canadian-based company, but they're Chinese. So what they had before was they had a Canadian-based architect and a Canadian-based master plan. But when they met with us a year ago, the news that they came forward to us was that, hey, you know what? We decided that it was it was in the best interest of the area and of the property future development to hire a local master plan and to hire a local architect. And then thereafter, they've gone real silent after COVID-19. I think the last email response I have from them was probably March and April. And I did reach out to them. I want to say about June, I sent an email. So in the hopes that I would be able to give an update to the council, but they did not respond to that email. Hold on, I don't see I have it back to hands. We have Calixto Navarro, the attendee, who has his hand raised.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know, my camera's not working. I don't know why. Anyway, going back to the little farm, what was there? And just from a realtor's perspective, I don't know, and maybe Mr. Powell can clarify this a little bit, but I've noticed that the trees are overgrown in there. It looks a little raggedy behind those fences, and maybe we can put liens on the property again. why am I saying this? As a realtor, someone who knows about property, it's very easy and comfortable for this group from Canada that is really detached from us to sit there. Okay, now we're in a crisis mode. To sit there and let that land just overgrow. They have it sitting there, and then wait till the market picks up again and maybe sell it, because they're business people, okay? And they're going to look out for their interests, not the village interest. They got to look out at their bottom line, and I don't blame them, because that's, you know, a business. However, we as a village, and you know, Mr. Powell can look into this. Can we start slapping them with liens, or having them send in a bobcat in there to knock down the trees, clean the area, you know, just like we would require any other citizen to maintain their property. Okay, number one, with these liens, we slap on the liens, we do this, then they will be a bit more motivated to either sell, okay, and get rid of this property and find somebody that will quickly do it. Now, in all fairness, this is a really difficult time, and I don't see anything happening at least for 8 months to a year, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a financial meltdown, and you know, in all fairness to everyone, you know, that owns these properties, but maybe we can help motivate them to either sell the property or, you know, do something with it. I'm just putting it out there, and you know, and I think the attorney and, you know, Mr. Powell and Christia can, you know, tell us a little bit more.
Well, you know, before Mr. Powell weighs in, I just want to say about code enforcement aspect. Yeah, they're, you know, we can require they abide by the, you know, code and ensure that the property is, you know, compliant. We've done that with the sanctuary as well. We continue to do that. So, but, you know, as you see, they put up a fence with covering. So we don't know what's behind the property, and we aren't allowed, you know, by code for code enforcement to go into a property unless invited. So, you know, we'll look at the property from a code enforcement just on the perimeter, and look into ensuring that the coverings are intact and you know, maintained. But legally, I don't know about the aspect of going onto the property.
Christia, you know, in real estate, we use, what are these things? Drones, to look at properties. And I know that even the county has done that, to look at for illegal structures that people have done secretly behind their homes. The county did that, and Hialeah did that. We can use a drone and say, hey, look, your trees are out of control. You need to take care of this. I'm just saying that. Let's motivate them a little bit. And listen, hey, if as a village we can walk away with some money, you know, all the power to us.
Well, my response is pretty much aligned with what the manager just said. Most of what happens with vacant land becomes a code enforcement issue. And to the extent that the property becomes an attractive nuisance, the first step's always going to be code enforcement. The property owner has a certain period of time under our code to comply with the code provisions. Obviously, if they don't do that, then you get to the step that you're alluding to, which is, or suggesting, is the lien process, which can ultimately lead to the village acquiring the property. But certainly that's always going to be the first step, is making sure that we enforce our code.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And, you know, we have to do that. But maybe we can be creative. We can use drones ourselves, just like, hey, we would do it as realtors for properties, and other municipalities use it as well.
That's something to consider in terms of the drone usage. But yeah, we'll think about that and see if, you know, if that's something that fits our village. You know, and I'll work with Councilperson Urban, because code enforcement is his committee. We can consider that. No promises.
Thank you, Christia. Thank you so much.
We have Adam Old who has his hand raised.
Hey all. Calixto, I believe we had many millions of dollars of liens on that property before it was sold, and as always, those liens are wiped off the books at the time of sale. Maybe it wasn't many millions. It was, I think it was $800,000. So I think, you know, like a company like the people that own it now have the ability to absorb a lot of liens. I don't think a tree fine is going to get them to do anything. What I do recommend that the village should do is, as the time has passed since the last change the zoning code, I would suggest that the village start looking at a, you know, housing affordability component to the comp plan. I don't believe there was any housing affordability addressed in the zoning code. And when all of the low income residents were displaced from the trailer park, it was a huge issue. I feel like, you know, that's the kind of thing that the village could be proactive about. It generates a lot of goodwill to say, look, this is something that the county-wide is needed, and we have a space for it. We could put 10% affordable units in the trailer park, and immediately the owners of the trailer park are going to see that and say, like, we ought to move on something before that gets changed, right? Like, or they'll say, we don't want to move on it, and we're okay with that. So either way, the village sort of wins, and I would recommend looking into that. I think it's probably sort of a moral thing that the village should be looking at, as our home prices have like doubled in value in the last 10 years. Thanks.
I think Council Professor Urban, you have your hand
Yes.
up?
Yes, I'm glad to kind of get back on track towards the comp plan discussion here. But I just want to say that at least for the next couple of years, I personally take privacy issues. That's like the top of my list of issues is privacy issues. So I cannot imagine the argument that anyone could make to me that would convince me that drones for code enforcement would be a good idea in El Portal. And so as Adam had pointed out, there were liens in place on that property. And it comes down to a negotiation will and lawyers, essentially. So in regard to what's going to happen next with that property, in terms of the overall comp plan, I might have Juan elaborate on this, but it sounds like as we clear January, February of 21, it will be up to the council at that point to take the new comp plan in hand and begin making meaningful changes to the zoning code based on what we're seeing in the latest official revision of the comp plan. So, that, you know, this is a long-term activity here. We will be, I think, fairly sad to not have Pluserbia so involved in our lives anymore. It really has been educational and eye-opening, the entire process. And so for the residents watching tonight, realize that as we clear January, February of 21, it'll be up to the residents to be continuing to give that input to the council, so the council has the guidance they need. We have the comp plan guiding us, but we also will still have the residents guiding us with the comp plan towards making the types of changes that we want. So in terms of restriction, that comes down to the code. In terms of limitations, that's going to come down to the code. So this gives us our ideals, as it were, and then we modify the code based on that. So in terms of the trailer park, we have, you know, it's a chess match right now. We can make some moves in the code to limit what we do want or don't want, and then until that happens, if they present plans and they pass, then they'll get what the, you know, the developers what they want. So, so not too much changes that way, because that's kind of the way it's always been working. So, so that's all I have to say about that, I think.
We have no more hands raised. Before I close it out, I only had one question or comment for either Juan or Camila. The one continuing feedback that I get when I sent out the town hall, especially when I sent out actually the last 3 flyers for the town hall, is that when you're a resident that's not actively involved and they see a town hall flyer that says comp plan, what does that mean? So, and I think we still get that over and over, because, you know, we don't have residents that can continually be involved or continually be engaged or continually watch all the meetings. So when they see the comp plan, how can, in layest terms, can we put that, as you all are talking about moving forward in November, December, and January, February, as closing months to be able to close this out and vote on it. And I know we've crossed this road before, but how can we put it in real, whether you all want to do another informational town hall, but considering the hiccups that we had for this town hall this evening. But again, I'm still getting from at least 5 residents who are not on tonight, you know, what does this mean? Like, you know, they don't get that part. And I think Edna, who may have asked a few questions earlier, was kind of alluding to some of those questions as far as, you know, like what's next? How does this mean? How's it implemented? Is this ever going to happen? Does it take money? Does it take a plan? Does it take, you know, I think that those are a good question, especially those residents who may be new or who may want to start getting involved or who have never heard of this before. Maybe be prudent for the council to have a future informational town hall one more time to kind of go over that basic questions that I think some residents still have, where they're not as intimidated to maybe come to a virtual meeting or come to meet at the village hall, or excuse me, come to a town hall. Not another charrette, because we've had that before, but maybe an informal meeting or something to that nature, putting it in layest terms. I don't know if that's something that you all would be interested. I don't know if Juan has a way to maybe recommend something along those lines. But again, I think that if you're not a construction engineer, if you're not an architect, if you're not a planner, or if you haven't been doing this for 12 years like I have, you're hearing all this and you're like, what does this really all mean? And again, I just think that some residents still have that lingering question. And so that's just food for thought for the council and for Placervia as well.
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree. Sometimes we are, you know, at our office, we're a bunch of planning nerds, and so we use our lingo and forget who we're talking to. So we will, in the future, make sure that the language is clearer. And also, I'd like to remind everybody that we're going to have a similar meeting to this, maybe an abridged version, so that we don't make the meeting too long. On the 8th is a committee meeting, which will also allow us to discuss this a little further. So we can have a follow-up, hopefully after some of the residents and yourselves have had a chance to review the documents. So we can dive into a little bit more detail on the 8th, if that's okay with you.
think we have a hand raised. Jennifer Gershie, attendee.
And before, Madam Mayor, before we close, I would like Camila to share screen and show everybody how to get to the documents online.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, on that, I just wanted to add one thing to what you just said. It would be really helpful if we could gather a list of questions and answers in those layman's terms and maybe add them to the website about the comprehensive plan. I think that would be like a document that a lot of residents might, you know, can read on their own time. They don't have to join a Zoom meeting or whatnot, and it would be a good place to inform the residents that aren't 100% sure. And I think maybe if we gather a list of the questions, like the one that Edna asked and others that I'm sure you have all received, that could be something that's helpful.
Yeah, maybe that could be a sheet that's added on the PD on the planning and zoning page, where frequently asked questions about comp plan, like what does comp plan mean? What, you know, from like kind of like A to Z in a real
exactly.
That'd be good. Sounds good. Thank you, Jennifer. Anybody else has their hand raised? All righty, seeing none. Does the council have anything they want to add, and the manager? All right, no. Juan, Camila, anything to close out?
Yes, I would like to, Camila, if you could demonstrate and show everybody how to get to the documents, so that there's no, so that it's recorded, so whoever watches this online. So if you go to the main website of the Village of El Portal, you click on departments, and that will take you to the planning department or the planning and zoning. You click there, it'll pull up this page, and you can see on the top, you have zoning code, comp plan, pattern book, active projects, and contact P&Z. So if you want to take a look at the pattern book, that's that. If you want to take a look at the zoning code, it's there in PDF. In this case, we're going to click on comprehensive plan, comp plan, right there. And it'll pull up this page. Jennifer, thank you for your comment. This, I think, addresses it a little bit, but we can work on it a little more. It gives you a brief description of what the comprehensive plan is. You can actually see this online survey that has been up for months. I forget when put it up there.
Since April.
Since April. Then on the right-hand side, well, on the left, on the left-hand side at the bottom, you will see the existing comprehensive plan, which is what we're working with right now, and the amendments that were done in 2011, 9 years ago. And then on the right, that's where you will find the latest documents. You will find on the very top the elements and amendments. That will pull up another page. And you can see here, each of the elements have been divided into sections. On the right-hand side, oh, sorry. Go back real quick. On the right-hand side, you can put comments there. Unfortunately, we cannot, online doesn't allow you to put comments on PDF, but you can put them there. Or again, you can email them to us as you're reviewing the PDF, or you can give us a call. You can text us, send us a Slack message. We use everything, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you need. But if you open one of them, it doesn't matter which one, open one of them. It'll pull up it will pull up a PDF, which everybody is able to open. You can download that PDF and make notes. You can print it and make notes by hand, and hopefully try and make sense of everything. And we will adjust those. You see this one, for instance, you will see things in red. Those things that are underlined are things that are new. Those things that are stricken are things that we're removing. Stop right there. Just to give you an example, there are certain things that were being discussed in 2011 that are not applying anymore. And others that weren't relevant back in 2011 are now, and so that's where we are updating. Everything that's in black, we're not changing, is existing. and it still applies. So there's, I believe, 13 elements. Camila, 12, 13 elements.
There's 13. We haven't
13
included
elements.
educational facilities because we're not amending that one.
We're not amending the educational facilities. But still relevant if somebody wants to make a comment and recommend a modification or an amendment, please feel free. We're open to any and all suggestions. Does anybody have any questions on how to get to the documents? Please email us or call us and we will help you through it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
No, thank you all. Is there any more raised hands? Let's see. Oh, we have a hand raised. Hold on. Does the Mora family? Nikki has a hand raised.
Thank you again. I just wanted to add something very quickly. Once again, for those that don't have any, knowledge of construction or planning, that if there is a possibility that a frequent asked questions section can be broken down in more basic terms for the grand majority to be able to understand. I just wanted to mention if it's relevant, that there's a lot of moving parts. You guys know that, but a lot of residents might not realize. For example, I'm all for increasing the canopy. I think that that's fantastic. However, that directly affects drainage. That will directly affect our septic to sewer construction because of the root system and all of that. And a lot of people might not understand that. So if there's any way that once that information is kind of digested if there's any way that we can digest that information further to disseminate, if there's a way that we can, whether it be with a graphic or however it's easiest for people to understand just how interconnected all of those sections of the comprehensive plan are, it's not just one individual item, because that item can come to affect 4 other things. And I had briefly also discussed with the mayor previously regarding the septic to sewer plan. I know that with COVID, everything has kind of slowed down, but I guess I'll just stay tuned for the upcoming meetings to see how we can just kind of keep on pushing through, because I think it's something important and it's directly related even with the water quality of the bay. But anyway, I digress. Just wanted to say that I think it's important for us to find a way to digest that information further, so that especially for our older residents that have been here for 30 years, if there's a way that we can find, to get that information to them, especially if they're not very, they don't have access to technology, how we can get that information over to them that's more digested, that they don't have to read through 30 pages of information. So I'm available if there's anything that you guys need me. I'm here.
Thank you, Nikki. Anybody else with the hands raised? Any other questions, comments? All righty, seeing none. I want to thank you all for being here and apologize for all the residents who had a hard time getting in this evening. Look out for that frequently asked question in layman's terms. Juan and Camila, thank you for helping us put this all together. And thank you all for being here this evening. You all have a really good night. Be safe. And again, I apologize for my voice, apologize for my screen. Not that you all probably wouldn't see me in my current condition, but wish you guys well, and I'll see you guys. Remember, we have another special council meeting tomorrow night, so tune on to then, and we will make sure, we'll double check to make sure that that login isn't correct for all of you. That's correct for all of you. You all have a good night. Be safe.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.